What is up everyone, Piscean here. In this video, we are going to go over a comprehensive guide to solar system geometry of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Exploring planetary relationships as measured from the Sun's perspective, the pure orbital architecture that underlies geocentric experience. So, this video is not going to be very long. Quick shout out to Report Labs for helping craft this PDF. And here's a quick intro to heliocentric astrology. For those that are not aware, so traditional Western astrology is almost exclusively geocentric, which is planetary positions and the angles between them aspects are calculated as seen from Earth. We see heliocentric astrology shift the reference point to the Sun. In the system, the Earth itself becomes a planet whose longitude is measured around the ecliptic, while the Sun occupies the center and therefore has no longitude of its own. Excuse me. So, because the distance from the Earth to the Sun is negligible compared with the distances to the outer planets, the heliocentric longitudes of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto differ only slightly from their geocentric longitudes. And I made a video previously, this is a follow-up to that one, about heliocentric and geocentric astrology, so alright, so the aspects among the outer planets themselves are therefore nearly identical in both systems. Now what changes dramatically are the aspects that involve the Earth or the inner planets, and the overall aspect patterns that emerge when the entire solar system is viewed from the solar center. Heliocentric aspects are often described as revealing the solar geometry or the underlying harmonic structure of planetary relationships, energies that operate at a transpersonal or collective level rather than through the personal filters of the geocentric chart. Many practitioners regard outer planet heliocentric aspects as especially significant for mundane world astrology, generational themes, and long-term cyclical analysis. Oh, excuse me. So why focus on the outer planets? And here we see this cool schematic view of the Sun and outer planets. The relative distances exaggerated clarity. So relative orbital distances, schematic not to scale, outer planets dominate heliocentric geometry. So the Sun, of course, is right on the center of things, with the Earth on the outer, Jupiter outer, Saturn outer, Uranus outer, Neptune outer, and Pluto the farthest. So we see why we're focusing on the outer planets, because the outer planets move slowly. Their mutual aspects last for months or years, and therefore define extended historical climates. In the heliocentric frame, these aspects are free of the rapid modulation caused by Earth's orbital motion, giving a clearer picture of the pure planetary relationship. We see Jupiter-Saturn cycles, Uranus-Neptune conjunctions, and Saturn-Pluto alignments have long been studied for their correlation with economic, political, and cultural shifts. Viewing them heliocentrically isolates the solar system contribution from local geocentric timing effects. Alright, now we're going to go over the outer planets in the heliocentric context. Excuse me. So we have the planets here: Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And we see the orbital periods. So Jupiter is 11.86 years. Saturn is 29.46 years, with Uranus at 84 years, Neptune 164.8 years, and Pluto 247.9 years. So this is the 5 outer planets and their heliocentric significance. Okay, so now we're looking at the key themes. And we're also noticing the heliocentric note. So for Jupiter, expansion, growth, belief systems, opportunity, and abundance. Closest of the others, bridges, personal and collective. Also wanted to mention that there should be a link in every video now, because I finally, I'm going to start uploading the PDFs that I'm going over in these videos, and the links, in the description to the video via a link. and then you can press on it, click on it, and then it'll lead you to that Dropbox file for this PDF so you can look at it yourself and learn some stuff on your own free will if you want to, if this stuff actually interests you. So Saturn, structure, limitation, responsibility, time, and authority, and we see it defines generational boundaries, long cycles with Jupiter. Uranus, awakening, disruption, innovation, liberation, sudden change. Neptune, dissolution, idealism, imagination, spirituality, illusion. And Pluto, transformation, power, death, rebirth, the unconscious, and intensity. The helio note for Uranus, we see nearly identical helio longitude, pure generational force. For Neptune, slow motion yields, century scale, cultural climates. And for Pluto, deepest generational marker, extreme orbital eccentricity. Excuse me. In heliocentric charts, the moon and the lunar nodes are omitted. They are Earth-centric phenomena. So houses are likewise absent. The chart is a pure ecliptic longitude, circled, centered on the sun. All right, and what remains is a map of planetary relationships as they exist in solar system space. All right, we're gonna look at aspects from the solar viewpoint. An aspect is formed when the difference in heliocentric ecliptic longitude between two planets is close to a harmonic fraction of the circle. And we see 0 degrees, 60 degrees, 90 degrees, 120 degrees, 180 degrees, etc. And we see the same geometric angles used in geocentric astrology apply, only the reference frame changes. Because outer planet positions barely shift between the two systems, their mutual aspects are essentially the same. The interpretive emphasis, however, tilts toward collective, structural, and evolutionary themes. So we see major aspects from the solar viewpoint. And we have principal aspect angles measured from the heliocentric center. So we're seeing opposition 180 degrees is right smack dab at the bottom. The quincunx 150 degrees, the trine 120 degrees, square 90 degrees, sextile 60 degrees, and a conjunction 0 degrees at the very top. And now we look at major aspects in their solar character. And we see the aspect, angle, nature, and outer planet emphasis. So conjunction, angle of 0 degrees, sextile, angle of 60 degrees, square, angle of 90 degrees. We see the trine, its angle of 120 degrees, opposition of 180 degrees, and quincunx 150 degrees. And this table is showing us core aspects and their typical expression among outer planets. And then we also get to see the nature, so fusion, intensification for conjunction, and the outer planet emphasis. OPE sees a new generational cycle, concentrated release of combined planetary principle. A sextile, 60 degrees, is an opportunity and cooperation. It facilitates constructive exchange between slow-moving forces, often subtle but productive. Square, 90 degrees, tension, dynamic challenge, generates historical friction that demands restructuring, crisis, and innovation. Aspect of the trine is an angle of 120 degrees. We see the nature is harmony, ease of flow. For an opposition's polarity, awareness through contrast, and for a quincunx, adjustment and congruity. In the outer planet emphasis, we see it supports sustained cultural or institutional development, easy but can lack urgency for the trine. Highlights opposing collective principles, often coincides with the culmination of polarization for the opposition, and requires continual recalibration between dissimilar planetary functions for the quincunx. Alright, so now we're seeing that orbs for outer planet aspects are customarily kept tight, often 2 degrees through 4 degrees for major aspects, and 1 degree through 2 degrees for minor ones, because the planets move so slowly that a wider orb essentially would keep any aspect in force for an impractically long time. Exactitude partial aspects carries the greatest weight, and we see key outer planet aspect combinations. And the following pairings are among the most studied in both geocentric and heliocentric work. Because the longitudes differ only slightly, the interpretive core remains consistent. The heliocentric view simply removes Earth's orbital noise and emphasizes the pure planetary dialogue. So we see Jupiter, Saturn. We're looking at Saturn, Uranus. We're also going to look at a few more, because there's a lot to go over in this video. Saturn, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, and that's why I'm putting the PDFs in the description, which I should have done earlier, but we're here now. So only looking forward. Jupiter, Saturn. It's a classic great chronocraters. Their synodic cycle averages 19.86 years. Heliocentric conjunction to conjunction. So conjunctions have historically been linked to shifts in political and economic order. Squares and oppositions mark turning points within the cycle. In heliocentric terms, the relationship is a pure expansion versus structured polarity operating on the solar system stage. We see trines, 120 degrees between them, are sometimes associated with periods of relative institutional stability, where constructive growth through historical correlation remains a subject of ongoing research. I'm very grateful right now because I don't know if my neighbors aren't here or what's going on, but my building that I'm staying in, I'm renting right now, is currently really, really quiet, and I just feel very grateful about it. Thank you, universe. Thank you, source. I'm just trying to make my videos to teach the people astrology. Last night I was recording, and my apartment was just going crazy. I'm not going to get into specific details, but a certain individual that lives in this building on my floor is just very, very noisy. And it's usually at later hours of the night for some reason, not at like 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, and right now I'm filming, it's 9 in the morning, so it's just about, I guess and this also is a part of astrology as well, because guess what? I was born at 9:53 in the morning. What does that say about me? Well, my chart is immediately ruled by the day, and Venus does her best during the day in my chart. So that means, I'm able to actually record my videos and film and do everything properly when there's no noise in the building during these day hours, because most people are at their day job slaving away while I'm doing what I want to do. And I'm not in college. And in fact, I have nobody. I have no family that is helping me, supporting me. I don't have friends. I barely talk to people. Seriously. And a lot of my videos, you're going to hear me say, oh, I'm live on Meet Me. And then you're going to hear me say, oh, I'm actually going off live on Meet Me, because they're not even responding or engaging with me. On the channel, I don't get many comments. But guess what? I'm going to continue posting. Because this is for me. And for whoever sees this in 5 years, if this channel still is around. If I'm dead in 5 years and this channel blows up after my death, hallelujah. Thank you, source. But I'm here to teach astrology. Let's continue. So Saturn, Uranus, status quo versus radical change. And we see conjunctions and squares frequently coincide with tech revolution, social upheaval, and the breakdown of old authority structures. The heliocentric aspect isolates the pure tension between crystallization, Saturn, and sudden liberation, Uranus. We see Saturn, Pluto's power, control, and profound structural transformation. Hard aspects, conjunction, square opposition, have been noted in near major geopolitical crises and economic contractions. The heliocentric fame underscores the deep and personal quality of these alignments. Uranus, Neptune is a very long cycle, 171 years between conjunctions. The most recent conjunction occurred in the early 1990s and is widely associated with the digital and informational revolution, the dissolution of Cold War blocs, and the rise of globalized culture. We see heliocentric measurement confirms the same generational signature with minimal geocentric distortion. Right, Uranus, Pluto is revolutionary transformation. The square of the 2010s is a recent example of intense collective pressure for systemic change. Conjunctions last in the mid-1960s marked epochs of radical cultural and political reconfiguration. Alright, Neptune, Pluto, the slowest pair. Their synodic cycle spans roughly 492 years. Sextiles and trines dominate long stretches of history, supporting gradual cultural and spiritual evolution. Hard aspects are rare and mark profound shifts in collective consciousness. Jupiter with Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. So Jupiter acts as a trigger or amplifier for the slower planets. A heliocentric Jupiter conjunction or a hard aspect to an outer planet often coincides with a public emergence or acceleration of themes already latent in the slower cycle. This is completely off topic right now. We're on the topic of astrology. Anything goes for my channel in regards to astrology. We're going to stay on the subject matter of astrology, anything regarding that. So I'm thinking about making a video about case studies in generational trauma and like familial abuse and being scapegoated in the charts we see. So for example, like if you have like Chiron in the houses, and we're going to go over specific examples. So stay tuned for that video. Stay tuned for the rest of my videos, because this channel is going to blow up eventually. I'm actually talking about stuff that no other astrologer is talking about, and no other astrologer for sure is going to give away this information for free. They're going to say, pay me $900, and then you can buy my course and suck my white dick and make me more privileged than I already am. So help the underdog. Help the underdog. The detransition woman who's a black woman who's 21 years old and, doesn't have a fucking 9 to 5, isn't in college, feels like Tracy Chapman's fast car. She's got her ticket. So yeah, I think that video is going to be called, like, parental abuse in astrology. Parental abuse, or maybe it'll be childhood trauma in astrology. And I think in that video, we're also going to talk about a lot of stuff like Jungian psychology, as well as like midpoints analysis of narcissistic parents who scapegoat their children. And there will be visuals. And this is in my video set of astrology compendiums, but I have all the videos where I'm like basically reading the PDFs in a playlist called Reading About Astrology. So that's where you can find these videos. There's hundreds of them. So we have a few more pages to look over. And we have interpretive principles for heliocentric outer aspects. Right, so interpretive principles for heliocentric outer aspects. So we see collective over personal. Outer planet aspects describe generational and cultural climates more than individual psychology. Personal impact appears mainly when the aspect also contacts natal angles or personal planets in the geocentric chart. Duration equals weight. The longer an aspect remains within an orb, the more thoroughly its theme saturates the collective field. Exact stations and partile moments concentrate the energy. Solar geometry is primary. Heliocentric aspects reveal the underlying harmonic relationship, and we see geocentric aspects show how that relationship is experienced on Earth, including retrograde effects and Earth-planet alignments. Patterns matter, so grand trines, T-squares, and stelliums among outer planets create multi-year weather systems, and we see heliocentric software often includes a filter to display only outer planet aspects precisely for this reason. Orbs stay tight because the planets are slow. At 1 degree through 3 degrees, orb is usually sufficient, and we see wider orbs dilute the signal over decades. Apply separate, and applying aspect builds intensity, while separating aspect releases or integrates the theme. With outer planets, the distinction can span years. Practitioners sometimes examine midpoints among outer planets as well. A midpoint occupied by another outer planet or by Earth can act as a sensitive degree that activates when transited. Alright, visual summary of aspect symbols we've talked about in a lot of other videos. Just a refresher though, because these are very important standard glyphs for the 5 major aspects. In heliocentric charts, these glyphs are drawn better excuse me, not better. These glyphs are drawn between planetary positions measured from the sun because the outer planet's longitudes are nearly the same in both systems. We see the glyphs and orbs look familiar. The interpretive frame simply shifts from how this affects me to what structural theme is active in the solar system at this time. Alright, so we have 3 appendixes we're going to look at here. We see the approximate synodic cycles for Appendix A. Table below lists mean synodic periods, time from conjunction to next conjunction. For the principal outer planet pairs, we see values are approximate and actual intervals vary because of orbital eccentricities and mutual perturbations. So we see the pair, mean synodic period, and the notes. So Jupiter-Saturn, 19.86 years, classic great conjunction, cycles 3 per 60-year trigon. Jupiter-Uranus, 13.8 years, frequently activates social tech themes. Jupiter-Neptune at 12.8 years, idealism, inflation, spiritual or cultural expansion. Jupiter-Pluto, I'll just start saying, like, instead of the decimal, it's usually about 12 years. Power, wealth, transformative opportunity. And we see Saturn-Uranus, 45 years, structure versus revolution, its major generational marker. Saturn-Neptune, 35 years, reality versus ideal, dissolution of forms. Saturn-Pluto, 33 years, deep structural crisis and rebirth. Uranus-Neptune, 171 years, long cultural tech epochs. Uranus-Pluto, 127 years, revolutionary transformation cycles. And we see Neptune-Pluto, 492 through 495 years. So, mean synodic pairs of outer planet pairs for heliocentric viewing. And we see suggested orbs for heliocentric outer aspects. So practical orbs for outer planet heliocentric work. We have the aspect, suggested orb, and the comments. So we see conjunction and opposition, 2 degrees through 3 degrees, Titan to 1 degree through 1.5 degrees for high significance. Square trine, 2 degrees through 2.5 degrees. Partile, 0 degrees through 0.5 degrees. Carry strongest weight. And sextiles, 1.5 degrees through 2 degrees. Often felt more as opportunity than demand. Semi-square sesquiquadrate, 1 degrees through 1.5 degrees. Useful for finer harmonic work. Quincunx, 1 degrees through 1.5 degrees. Adjustment themes keep tight. And we see midpoints. It's going to be lesser than 1 degree. Sensitive degrees. Activate when occupied. These orbs are guidelines, not dogma. Researchers who study historical correlations sometimes employ even tighter orbs, lesser than 1 degree, to isolate the strongest statistical signals. And we see Appendix C. It's the difference between heliocentric and geocentric outer longitudes because the Earth-Sun distance is small relative to the orbital radii of the outer planets. The maximum difference between heliocentric and geocentric longitude is modest. So we see the planets' approximate max longitude and practical implication. So Jupiter, 11 degrees to 12 degrees. Noticeable aspects can shift by several degrees. Saturn, 6 degrees to 7 degrees. Moderate, most major aspects remain the same. And Uranus, 3 degrees to 4 degrees. Small aspects nearly identical. We have Neptune and Pluto. So Neptune's 2 degrees. Very small, effectively the same for most work. Pluto is 1.5 degrees to 2 degrees, negligible for ordinary orbs, so approximates maximum geo-helio longitude difference. Consequently, when only outer planets are considered, a heliocentric chart and a geocentric chart look very similar. The distinctive value of the heliocentric view appears when Earth or the inner planets is included, or when one wishes to study pure solar system harmonics without the annual modulation introduced by Earth's motion. Okay. That's actually another video coming up soon as well. I just keep making like more videos. I mean, I swear. I fucking progressed Sun in Gemini. This is what I do. And I have, Taurus rising, so Gemini's in my second house, and I'm just like fucking amplify it. Mars and Capricorn over here as well, so. So yeah, advanced astrology, solar system harmonics. Right. And we're going to end the video with a glossary. And also, really quick, this report is intended as a reference overview of outer planet relationships measured from the heliocentric perspective. Interpretations of specific historical or future alignment should be cross-checked with precise ephemerides and where relevant with contemporaneous geocentric charts. Heliocentric astrology complements rather than replaces the geocentric tradition, and together they offer a richer map of both personal experience and solar system structure. So we see this glossary, and I've talked about a lot of these in previous videos, so I kind of just want to speed through these here. So in aspects, a specific angular relationship, difference in ecliptic longitude between two planets. Major aspects are multiples of 30 degrees or 45 degrees that have traditional interpretive weight. We see conjunction is two planets at the same or nearly the same heliocentric longitude. The principles are fused and intensified. Ecliptic longitude is the angular position of a planet measured along the ecliptic from the vernal equinox point, 0 degrees Aries. Geocentric is measured or calculated from the center of the Earth. Standard natal and transit charts are geocentric. Heliocentric, measured or calculated from the center of the Sun. The Earth becomes one of the planets the Sun has no longitude. Orb, the allowable deviation from exactitude still considered to form an aspect. Outer planet orbs are kept relatively tight. Outer planets since report Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. The planets beyond the asteroid belt whose slow motion defines generational and historical themes. Partile, an aspect that is exact or within a fraction of a degree, the point of maximum intensity. Opposition, two planets on opposite sides of the Sun or Earth in the geocentric frame. Polarity and awareness through contrast. Retrograde geocentric, apparent backward motion of a planet as seen from Earth, occurs when Earth is heliocentrically conjunct an outer planet. The planet is then geocentrically opposite the Sun. Square, 90 degrees, planets 90 degrees apart, dynamic tension that simulates action, crisis, or restructuring. Stellium, 3 or more planets in close conjunction, Earth in a narrow longitude span, concentrating energy in one sector of the ecliptic. Synodic cycle, the period from one conjunction of a given pair of planets to the next conjunction of the same pair. Trine, 120 degrees, planets 120 degrees apart. T-square is an aspect pattern formed by two planets in opposition, both squared by a third planet. Grand trine is 3 planets mutually 120 degrees apart, forming an equilateral triangle. Midpoint of the ecliptic degree, halfway between two planets. So when occupied by a third body, it becomes a sensitive point. Mundane astrology, the branch of astrology that studies world events, nations, economies, and collective trends, rather than individual natal charts, applying separating. An aspect is applying when the faster planet is moving toward exactitude, separating when it is moving away. With outer planets, the distinction can last years. Solar geometry, a term used to describe the pure angular relationships among planets as seen from the Sun, structural harmonics of the solar system. Thank you for watching this video with peace and love, and I'll see you in the next one. Piscean out.